This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you. Consent agenda. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Call for a vote.
Supervisor Brooks,
Just the one.
No, the whole thing, the whole consent agenda as presented.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
Supervisor Gilpin,
Yes.
Supervisor Hurley,
Yes.
President Herrick.
Yes. Move on to message from Scott Kerr. Excuse me. I'll get it right.
See how I get my mail. Scott Kerouac, Highlands County Commissioner, District 3. Really not a whole lot of updates for you. We are now starting to dig into our budget time, like I'm sure some of you folks are. And that's about a 6-month better process for us with all of our department heads and what have you. So we're working on our next fiscal year budget. Other than that, we're continuing. We have some drainage studies going on in the county that we're conducting, 3 different drainage studies, and continue. That's one of my priorities moving forward, and to identify some of these areas and some of the fixes that it will take for drainage. But other than that, things continue to move forward. If you got any questions for me, from the board or residents, I'll be glad to try to answer or get back with you with the answers.
Thank you, Scott.
We good? Okay. Thank you all very much, and have a great week. Thank you.
You too.
Yes, sir.
Moving on to the action agenda. Speed bump recommendation at 6375 Orduna Drive. Who's going to present that?
Bob's not here, so you want to do that? You have stuff.
A motion.
You have it. It was part of this package.
Do you want me to do it? Dan, do you want me to do it? Do you want me to do it?
Yeah, go ahead. You have it up.
Supervisors, you'll find in your packet that we did the traffic survey at that location. There's 4 sheets of paper. One was the amount of cars going in and out. The first one is in. The second one is a graphic of the amount of cars doing the speed limit and those that are over. And then the second sheet has up at the right, the left-hand corner at the top, it says opposing. That's the traffic leaving. So according to the traffic study, it is the recommendation of security to place a speed bump at that location.
Any board discussion?
I vote we do it.
Any public discussion?
I'll second it.
I need a motion to approve the placing of a speed bump at 6370 in the area of 6375 Orduna Drive. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to do it.
I'll second.
Call for a vote.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
Supervisor Gilpin,
Yes.
Supervisor Hurley,
Yes.
Supervisor Brooks,
Yes.
President Herrick.
Yes. Next item on the action agenda is the drainage improvements at Calatrava and the Dial Center. Drew, want to present your information?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, supervisors. Drew Jones with Polston Engineering. I'd like to give you a little bit of a synopsis on where we're at with the drainage projects this year. Last board meeting, I gave y'all preliminary copy of the drainage improvement plans, which have not substantially changed from that. The finished plan just provided additional details on how things were to be constructed, added dimensions, things like that. But the general areas that y'all provided remain the same. The dialysis center, we received a quote for all of it from KDL. We asked them to split up the quotes in different areas so we knew how much each area was going to cost, and if we needed, for any reason, if we ran out of budget money, we could trim back accordingly if we had to, in case that was an issue. The dialysis center, we were just under 45,000 at $44,380. That includes what we discussed about continuing the pipe that was just left kind of dead-ended behind their building, installing 2 new basins and continuing the pipe along the rear easement and connecting into the downstream inlet that's already there. That one's a little more cut and dry. On our Calatrava work area, we split it into parts A, B, and C, and they were prioritized between me and Bob and Dan. We prioritized what we thought was the most important areas. It is my understanding after meeting with Dan that we do have enough money to do all 3 areas, and right now is our recommendation to do all 3 of them, barring any unknowns by the time we get it done. But right now we would like to proceed with doing all 3 areas. That would clean and widen the whole ditch length that we had in the plans, and add some ditch blocks to provide some attenuation upstream, and it would construct like a ponding area from the runoff coming out of the golf course that's midway through the Part A ditch. But that wouldn't cover all the work that's on the plans right now. The total for that work, I guess I do not have an exact total for those, but Part A is $39,200. Part B is $52,120, and Part C is $40,290. I can get you a total.
That's all right.
That's okay.
We got it.
We all did the
Okay.
math earlier.
Okay.
I have a question. If we give you the go-ahead, can you finish this project, this one, before the rainy season starts?
I believe that's up to KDL, but I would imagine they can, but
KDL says they can start immediately on this project. They're having to wait on the dialysis center because they have to order some specialized
Okay,
parts. But yeah, this should be finished in a couple of weeks,
okay. Thank you.
certainly by the end of March.
Okay, thank you. We have to protect those homes.
Any other board discussion?
I like to
I got a
vote.
question.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to do
Well,
it.
we don't, well, we got to, hold on a minute, there's a motion. Any?
I got a question just concerning,
Yep.
are we going to, how far down the list then? This is about 173,000. The original list, I think, called for, we were going to try and do the top 5. Are we still going to be able to do that?
I believe some of that we were going to do, and I know we were going to do some other ditch cleaning. I don't know where that ended up in the priority list, if we were still going to try to do some of the other.
Well, I mean,
The answer to that is yes. The question is not so much here. It's how quickly can we get FEMA reimbursement, or are you comfortable having the federal government owe us $700,000-800,000 as a receivable? That's what we're going to have to put out there.
the original budget was around 350 or something like that.
Correct.
And he gave us a list of 21 items, and we said we were going to at least try and do the first 5.
Right.
So my question is, are we going to still be able to do that and get it done this year?
That's our intention. Yes.
It
Yes.
has nothing to do with FEMA or anything.
Well,
This is the money we allocated.
right.
And then we took and gave you guys another 350 for whatever.
Correct. And we should be able to do all of the top 7, I think it was.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure we're going to do what you committed to.
That's our intention. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other board discussion? Public comment? Yes, sir. Please come up to the microphone, please state your name.
Good morning. My name's Bill Missline, and I live on Calatrava. And I appreciate the board taking the time and spending the money to correct the problem, because as many people, we had water come into our house during the last hurricane. The one question I have is, I seen parts A, B, and C, and I seen the funds and everything. My main concern is, once this is done, is there any money to maintain and to make sure the ditch remains open? You know, I've lived there for over 2 years, and there's been no maintenance whatsoever. And I don't see in any of the information that maintenance is included.
That is a definite topic of discussion. There's plans being developed on how we are going to, once we clean ditches, we have a commitment. We are going to try to clean all ditches east of Cortez by the end of February. Then we will start working on the west side of Cortez. But it isn't, there's plans going to be put in place that these ditches will be cleaned on a periodic basis on a maintenance plan that's being developed.
Okay, so there are plans to maintain it once it's done?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. That would be done at least annually.
Okay. Is annually going to be enough? I mean, those ditches, as I fill up pretty quick.
That's a minimum, but yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Any other public comment? Like a motion to approve the drainage improvement plan for Calatrava and dialysis center as presented.
I'd like to make the motion to do it and to get it all done at once. Get it all done now.
Second.
All in favor? Excuse me. Call for the vote.
Supervisor Gilpin,
Yes.
Not the
Supervisor Hurley,
Yes.
Supervisor Brooks,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
President Herrick.
Yes. The amounts.
The amounts.
The amount per
The
one.
amounts.
It's in the budget, yes.
It's within the budget.
It is within the budget.
It is in the budget. The total you just approved is basically about $172,000 all told, both projects.
Okay. Any add-on items?
No.
Thank you.
Did you want me to?
Go ahead. Sure.
Dan asked me to go over briefly the status of our facilities plan for the wastewater treatment plant, and wastewater and utility facilities plan. The last I spoke with the Florida Rural Water, we were discussing a little bit on what the desired, it has 3 options. If you remember from the stormwater plan, you have to have 3 options minimum in the facilities plan. We were going over our desired, our 2 options, and then our desired solution. If we're assuming we can afford it, we can get financing to do it, which would be, I was going over it with him, analyzing whether it would be more cost effective to try to utilize the old plant and expand, or would it be better to build a new plant at a new location and build out everything there versus trying to do like the percolation ponds down in Unit 6 and expand the old plant. I was going over that with him, and he was working on getting updated quotes. He supplied me with some rough numbers on what it would cost for a new plant, and he made a lot of assumptions. He doesn't have everything. You can't get it exact because you don't have a full set of plans, but he was going over some rough numbers with me on estimates, and he told me, the last discussion I think was last week, he told me he was working on getting some better numbers for the 2 other alternate options, which would be to expand our current plant and try to upgrade it to reuse, which I know it's been discussed before, but it's not our desired way to move forward. It didn't leave a lot of redundancy, which is not good for us as a utility provider, not have redundancy to take. If you don't meet quality with the reuse water, you have to dispose of it somewhere or store it until you can. And that leaves a lot of problems if you can't send it to like a percolation pond or whatnot. So we're basically waiting on more accurate cost estimates at this point. I don't,
Give us a ballpark.
What was the ballpark on
the high side, he was at 32 million. That was full on, I think that's like build out everything. I don't know if that included, he didn't have like a line item breakdown, but I believe that included like complete reuse. So if we were to hook it up to like the golf course and utilize the water for,
is he going to do one without the reclaimed water?
that's what we have to, I'm waiting on him to provide some of that to be a little more of a cost breakdown.
The 32 million is new.
That's brand new,
Brand new
everything, upgrades, sent everything to unit 6 and 7. I think he had some haul road construction. Some of the stuff may not be needed, but he was trying to include everything he could to give kind of a worst case scenario, but I don't know. He didn't provide exact line items yet on what he was selecting, but we need to isolate a little better if we need a better number for an estimate for y'all to review, but he was working towards that. Pardon?
Do you think you can get that by the next board meeting?
I can try. I can't make any guarantees because everything's been slow with Florida Rural Water for some reason. I don't want to guarantee, but we can request it for whatever latest he can provide us.
Yeah, I just wanted you guys to know we're pushing them hard as we can push them, but we're not getting a lot of cooperation. The issue is you could say 32, it could just as easily be 22 or 12. Just depends on what you do. And also Swift Mud, that's a full on reuse, reclaimed water on the golf courses. Swift Mud will pick up 40% of the tab on the part of that too. So that's a really squishy number. I don't think I would feel comfortable with that at all.
And there's a lot of grant money out there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
So, I mean, having grant money, we're saying 32 million, but it's not really 32 million.
Probably not.
So are we checking on the grant money now?
As soon as we get a plan,
Okay.
everything's waiting on Florida Rural Water
So we're
Association.
so far away from this.
Yeah. I mean, you're 4 or 5 years down the road.
Right.
You're 4 or 5 years down the road before you
4 or
actually
5
get
years,
it done.
okay.
Yeah. We're in the planning process right now. That's what we're trying to do is get a plan so you can then get a number. Then you can go to Swift Mud and say, how much of this are you willing to pick up? Cindy can look for grants. I mean, there's a lot of money out there that we can get, but this is the first step. And we've been working on this for a year and a half now, and we're getting closer to the end, but I'm not sure we're at the end yet.
Okay.
So we were working under the assumption once upon a time that it was going to be somewhere between 10, 12 million.
Correct.
Now we're up to 32.
That's just an estimate though.
That's
Well,
I mean, I don't,
So it was 10 or 12.
I appreciate the proactiveness that is going on and not wait until we get behind the 8 ball. We're trying to do something in advance for a change. And I think that's a good thing.
The original one was.
I know this is all a good thing, but we have been working on this for 2 years.
The original did not include reclaimed water,
Right.
which
Exactly.
is about this. It's not quite half of it, but it probably 30%, maybe something like that.
Yeah, it could be.
And then you're going to get 40% of the 30% reimbursed by Swift Mud. And there's a lot of state, federal money out there.
Well, the only problem we're going to have is we really can't do a budget without knowing this information, can we?
This won't affect your budget for 4 years.
It won't.
No.
So,
Unless, what you can do is start putting money back to cover it. If I understand it correctly, Drew, you actually get this plan, which then you come up and they got a cost estimate, which then you can get an SRF or grants, and you don't even start making payments on these. They actually advance you money to do the engineering. So it's not going to affect your budget for years, a couple of years.
Do you recall when we did the stormwater SRF planning in the budget? It would be similar to that, where you wouldn't pay until the work was completed or thereabouts. But
I'm just a little surprised over the 32 million. That's all.
So am I. That's the first time I heard that number.
Yeah, that's a
has
big
never
number.
been mentioned at all.
that was the highest number that he shared with me on just a rough sketch sheet that he was working on. He did say he needed to contact some of the other staff at Florida Rural Water to make sure he had some questions he needed to communicate with them to, I guess to get some, I don't know if it's updated numbers or more exact information, but
Well, I'll just tell you, if it's close to 32 million, we have a serious situation that has to be addressed, and I don't know if we can even do it.
Well, that depends how much grant money we get, number one. I mean, that's the key, is how much grant money we can, get and how much work we have.
Yeah, I don't think we should be in full-blown panic mode
I
now.
don't think next meeting Drew has to come back with something, because I think we're so far down the road right now with this. But I'm with Beverly, I'm glad we're working on it, and it's the beginning.
I think the board would unanimously agree. It's not, can we do it? We have to do it. It's just how many bells and whistles can we have on it?
Yeah.
Very, right, exactly.
To say that we're not gonna be able to, that we can't do something, that's not in the picture. We have to do something because our facility is 50 years old and it's not gonna get bigger and we're keep growing. So it's just a matter of how many bells and whistles can we have on it when we put it in place, in my opinion. So.
Yeah.
Exactly, agreed.
Thanks, Drew.
you're welcome.
Got my heart running anyway. Add-on items.
First time I heard that number.
Any add-on items?
No Dane about how hard.
Petitions and communications? Have none.
None.
Staff reports? Golf? Mr. Lemire, Mr. Murphy?
Yeah, I know. Good morning, supervisors. Right now, we're getting ready to do air to gas again. We're going to try to get on it next week. We were going to actually try to do it this week, but we weren't able to. We still got a little bit to go as far as bunkers go on Deer Run, but we've almost got all the green side bunkers completed on Deer Run. Some of the sand got tracked out last week. We're trying to clean that up, and then trying to push the tees pretty hard right now. I know a lot of them are getting beat up right now due to the traffic. Try to get number 1 tee open this week. We top rested heavy last week, and we're going to try to get it cut down and open this week on number 1. And then hopefully this spring, we can get time, we'll try to look at some of these tees and rebuild some of these tees in-house and enlarge them. I know Mr. Norcross asked me about number 8 tee on Deer Run this morning. I know it's a skinny tee, but we just need to figure out something on these golden white tees for the future. But other than that, we should start pushing some grass pretty hard this week with the temperatures that we're getting. Still trying to finish up trimming trees. We're almost done with that as well. Got a few landscape barriers to do. Dan asked us last week to look at the pepper trees between 12 green and 14 green and the wet area back there. We're going to try to get those cleaned up and try to get them eradicated with herbicide as well, and then possibly look at some of the other ones.
14 green on both courses. Have you done soil samples there?
Yeah, it's just, so when we aerify our greens, I was talking to Mike a little bit about this morning. So when you aerify your greens, you only really disturb 6% of your greens. So we dig in that. It's still compacted. It's still some of the bad soil. So we put the plugs in there, not to draw anybody's attention to it, but just to get the turf on it. But, we punched them 4 times last year. So we disturbed really 20% of our greens over the last year. So it's just, we're not out of the water until we get another 3 or 4 aerifications on it and get it totally changed out. We dug in them with the profile last week, number 9. We went and looked at a lot of the greens. So some of our greens are starting to go the other way and getting a little warm, they're draining faster in spots than other spots. So we putting wetting agent on them this morning to try to slow some of the water in that area. But some of them still have the high compaction on them. And that's kind of the spots that you're seeing from the mechanical, and where those spots are on 14 is the same thing. It's just underneath it, it's caked soil. So we're going to hit those when we go out with the air to gas again this week. We're going to hit them a little bit harder and try to get right on top of them and get some air down in them. But they're still compacted.
When do we start aerating?
It'll be May, sir. Okay. But that's the beauty about the air to gas. We'll try to go every 2 weeks with it as much as we can. We were able to go around the greens and get where the greens mowers and everything have been turning, trying to relieve that compaction as well. But we're going to try to get what we can done this week on it, but we're definitely going to go hit some of those spots that are struggling a little bit more than the others and hand top dress and get them smooth again.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Supervisors. Apologize for the handout this morning. Ms. Coral, she got me pretty good to not get it in the packet, so I will be sure that you'll have it in the future. Not a whole lot really to report on. There was a few. I got a list of all our events we have coming up in March. March is going to be super busy with all of our events. Member guests and the Patty's Day show is coming up. A couple things I do want to note is just kind of rolling through February month to date. Green fee revenue is up $12,000 year over year, month to date, so through yesterday. And the F&B revenue is up $19,000 through 19 days in February. So carrying that momentum over from January. I mean, obviously the financials, we did struggle December, but January is really good, and we're still rolling along pretty good in February. As to budget, we're going to be really, I mean, we're pretty much right on top of budget that we have. We did budget to have a really good February, so we're basically right on track to be at budget, maybe slightly ahead. The new cabinets are complete with the ice machines on Deer Run. I'm pretty sure everybody saw those and had a lot of good compliments on that.
Yeah, excellent job.
Thank you. You'll probably see, in the restaurant, we get a lot of traffic in the restaurant, so we're going to kind of spot shampoo some of the carpet areas where it gets kind of tracked up in the high traffic areas. Just try to clean that up. We typically in the summertime we'll go through and do a full shampooing, but this time of year is kind of tough because we got to move everything out, move everything in. So we're going to try to just freshen those high traffic areas up. And then obviously we're coming into budget time, so probably in March we'll start doing our drafts for next year's budget. That's about all I have unless somebody has some questions.
I got a couple. Can you get me the breakdown of the public rates for December that goes with this report?
Like I did before? Same thing?
I'm sorry?
Just like I did before?
Yeah, like you did.
And you want December, January?
Well, yeah, I mean, I like them all, but I'll ask you each month. If you want to just send them to me, that's fine.
Okay. All right, hold on, let me write that down.
And then I need the results of the Judy Prescott Memorial Tournament. What happened with that event? And that's it, if you would.
Okay, yeah, I can do that. I'll send it to everybody. Anything else?
Good,
Thank you.
General Counsel, David?
Good morning, Supervisors. Okay, we had Dan and I had a meeting with Mr. Hornick last week, kind of going over some of the Unit 12 stuff. It's moving forward. It's a certainty that he's going to need the 25 acres that we pledged for turtle habitat, and he'll probably need some additional as well. My understanding is that those are going to have to be on two separate locations. It's not going to be one giant turtle preserve. So he's in the process of getting some additional information on that, and we'll be bringing something to the board in the future about what it is that he's asking for. But it'll basically just be stuff that he's, under the option agreement that he'll be entitled to purchase. On top of that, we're also in the process of directing the Sokoloff firm to initiate foreclosures on some of the lots in Unit 12 that are owned by individual owners pursuant to our agreement with Mr. Hornick. We're supposed to try and pick up or foreclose on those little individual lots that are scattered here and there out throughout Unit 12. And I've sent a list of the ones that we've identified, asking him to put a priority list together on which ones he considers more important. We've had a couple of foreclosures come in, naming the district as a defendant, but it's, as you guys know, our assessments are on par effectively with county taxes. And so we can't be foreclosed out. So I'm notifying those attorneys that are attempting that they can't do that. Biggest, however, is the Avanti suit. Unfortunately, because we have two separate defendants with Avanti and then Mueller as two individually separate defendants, Mr. Rhodes has been unable to get a specific number from their counsel.
So our recommendation at this point is to have a shade meeting or to schedule a shade meeting for the meeting on March 13th. I don't know how you guys want to do that. If you want to make it at the end of the regular meeting, obviously a shade meeting means that there's no public. We have a court reporter come in, takes minutes on everything that occurs because it's ongoing litigation. You guys make a decision on any sort of offer that we want to make to the defendants to settle the matter. That all remains confidential unless and until the suit is dismissed, and then it becomes, that's when that transcript will be released as public record, but it's not that part of the meeting would not be open to the public. So I would basically I can recommend one of two things. Either one, we can put it at the end of the regularly scheduled meeting on the 13th and have an adjournment. Public will leave, court reporter will come in, and we'll have our shade meeting, and then the meeting can adjourn. Or we can schedule a separate special meeting, which would not, like I say, not open to the public. So I don't know if we can, like, you guys can meet with Dan individually and kind of figure out how you want to do that. Mr. Rhodes obviously would want to be present, so we can coordinate with him, but he said he'd do his best to be available. So
I'll vote for the 13th.
Me too.
okay,
Is he gonna be here the 13th?
Mr. Rhodes, yes.
I agree. I vote for 13th too.
All right, I'll work on getting that scheduled and make sure that that's a possibility. Other than that, unless there's questions, that's all I have.
I believe we asked you to look into the idea of special assessments for non-developed lots. Where are we at on that?
Oh, yeah, we can specially assess. We have to, we have to identify, identify a specific benefit, but the process generally is we have to, there's a two-tiered process. If you get 100% agreement from the affected lots, then it limits what's actually required to be done. If you don't get 100% agreement by the lot owners, then you have to go through the entire special assessment process, which involves public hearings and notices being mailed out, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess the question is do we know specifically which sections we're talking about?
Undeveloped lots.
Any undeveloped lots, okay.
And that's where I'm coming. Why can't we determine a separate rate for undeveloped lots? That's the assessment, period. Not a special assessment. That's the assessment.
Oh, I mean, well, yeah, as far as, I don't know if we would need to have an assessment study done. But yeah, if we want to have a discussion about our assessment rates, that's
just that. That's what I'm looking at, just the undeveloped lots.
When you say undeveloped, you mean undeveloped with no roads?
I think I was led to believe that if we said we want to discuss all of the rates, and as we're doing that, we single out this particular group and say we want to change this to this, we're allowed to do that.
Absolutely.
Then okay.
So I guess we would do that during budget conversations?
Correct.
So we can do it, there's no problem.
Correct.
Okay.
I think the distinction is, do you change that or do you go with a separate special assessment? If we don't, there's no reason to do a separate assessment, so I think it's just
It's easier just to change it.
Yeah.
Anything else?
That's all I've got.
Finance Director, Dean?
Good morning, Supervisors. First item is assessments. Just want to give a quick update. As of today, we've collected just under $3 million, or approximately 70% of this year's assessments. The next item is ARPA. We had a meeting with the utilities group, and they want to do a change on the ARPA, and I spoke about this last time. They're wanting to include 2 mobile Thompson pump units versus the 2 stationary ones. And what this will do is, the idea right now is to have 2, 1 at each of the schools in case there's any issues with drainage or pumping, but to have these mobile ones, so if there's ever an issue at any of the other lift stations, they can drive these Thompson pumps over to those particular lift stations and use them there if there's any issues with generators or pumps or anything like that. So
Parker's telling us to do that?
no, this is from the utility group. So originally,
I thought we already bought the pumps.
not all of them. So we put in a bid for, we haven't paid for them yet. We put in a bid for 4 of them to order 4 permanent ones. They would like to take 2 of them and make them mobile units and put them on a trailer. We've spoken with Thompson Pumps. They said we can do that. There's no cost increase. And right now, the only issue is we've got to get some pricing done, and some of the locations might need a special hookup, but we've already got some of that cost covered with the permanent. When we originally put in the original bid for the original, I guess bid would be correct, for the permanent locations, we allocated concrete and materials, stuff like that. But we shouldn't see a price increase is what we're expecting, switching these to
So it is going to cost more money.
no, we're not
No.
expecting a
What is
price
the
increase. Huh?
I thought you just said price increase.
We're not expecting a
Not
price
Not
increase.
expecting. I guess I'm a little confused. We kind of signed off on this 4 or 5 months ago.
He's asking
You
you.
did. So that was under Chris, and the new utility managers, he's saying that he would prefer to have mobile ones in case if there's any issues at any of the other locations during
I understand that, and this is a good thing if you caught a mistake. I guess my question is, or my concern is, why this even happened wrong in the first place?
I don't know how it was originally set up. I mean, having the Thompson pumps is a good thing, depending on who you ask. They think they need them, but they would prefer to have some mobile ones in case there was issues elsewhere other than them being permanent at one location.
As they explained it to me, the issue with the generators is one thing, but what happens if all the pumps go down in a specific lift station? You can then take these mobile ones, stick it in there, and you're in operation until you get your pumps fixed. They're just looking for redundancy.
We haven't received any Thompson pumps.
We have not, yeah.
But we have ordered them. We are committed to
Right.
take 4 of them.
Right.
They're just trying to change the way they're planning on using
All
them.
right, so it's not gonna cost us anymore.
Correct.
No.
We're getting the same amount. We're just kind of
They're going to be
have
called
2
mobile versus permanent, yeah.
Correct.
So it is actually kind of a plus to have 2 mobile, right? I mean, they are right there.
Right.
Correct.
And I think we brought this up a couple years ago, now we stopped again, but we're still gonna have the same amount, no more money. And now, where are these mobiles, gonna be kept? Under roof?
Yes.
Either under roof, and they're actually going to have a
Cover over.
Right,
them.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But, they have an area down the sewer plant that they can keep these at, and they gotta be maintained. And that's the only thing I care. I love what you're doing, but we have to maintain these.
Yes,
And they
and
gotta be kept under roof since we're moving around. Okay? That's all I ask.
I guess I'm getting more confused. We bought 4. I would have assumed that we had an intention of what
we
to
had
do.
4 ordered.
I would have assumed ordering 4, we knew what we were going to do with them. Now it sounds like we didn't.
They had
I could take
locations they were
and
originally
reuse
going to
them.
go to, but with the new utility manager coming in, he said, I'd rather have these on a trailer where I can move them
Is this a different utility manager than we had
Yes.
before?
than Chris, yep. Yeah. So he sees more value in making these mobile versus permanent. Dan and I agree with our limited knowledge. If something were to arise, they are covered, so I guess they come uncovered and we
It makes sense
requested
to
they
do
be
it.
covered.
It does make sense to do it. As long as they maintain it, I love it, so.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, and this still needs to go to the county to be approved, so nothing's set in stone right now. So we have to change our language on our ARPA and send it to the county and say, please approve these. I don't foresee them not approving it, but at this point. The next item I have is the hail damage. We've received our bids for the hail damage that happened last year. We're setting up a meeting with the insurance company and our consultant Inline that did the scopes. Me, Dan, And the insurance company and the consultant will be getting together, reviewing all the bids, making sure that, if there's any issues. Some of them didn't include everything, so we have to put it in an apples to apples type of setting and see what we really need, what we don't. And we'll have to bring that back to you with our findings next board meeting.
It's really not our money, but we need to do it so that we're properly backed up. It's a lot more complicated than you think, because there must be 30-something different buildings
Yes,
with roofs on them, and there are different materials and in different, this one, for example, has a metal roof, but it's screwed down. The ones on the clubhouse and the district office are standing seam. So, and standing seam is much more expensive than the other, so it's tough to come to a yes or no.
$1 million worth of claims.
Exactly. It's a lot of money.
Yeah. All right. Next item
Thank goodness it's not our money.
Next item I have is just an update on FEMA and hurricane damage. Sunday's continuing to work with our FEMA rep. We have received the okay or the approval for reimbursement of generator usage, which will be about $20,000 at this point, and repair of the fence at the tennis courts, which is about $15,000. Those are two things we definitely have guaranteed. We'll give you updates as more is approved. But that's all I have on that for right now. Next item I have is our meters. We have a meeting with Fortiline and Sustainability Partners, who's the group we selected for our new meter system. We'll be reviewing the contract with them and David to make sure that everybody agrees to the contract. We currently aren't expecting any surprises at this point, and we'll bring the contract to you guys before the next meeting and get formal approval on it. We'll also have a better idea of start dates and the process as a whole at the next meeting. We'll let you know.
I put the Cliff's Notes version on your tables.
Yeah.
And that's all I currently have. All right, hold on. I got one more. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry?
Got one more thing. Go ahead.
No, you go first.
All right, it's cameras. Received a couple of bids for the camera system. They came in approximately $45,000 each, but that was for a complete new system. Me and Dan told them that we weren't looking at spending that much money. And we've had one come back just under 25,000. We have a meeting I have a meeting tomorrow with the other group, and I expect something similar. The $45,000 includes all cameras, all new cameras, all new what they call VDRs, and hooking them up. We think we can get a cost savings by using the current cameras that we have now. A lot of them are still good cameras. It's the VDR system that's not good and apparently has some ties to China. And it becomes a security issue too. Something I found out. So we'll be getting a new VDR. We'll be using old cameras and some new cameras. And these cameras are about $1,000 a piece. So my theory is, as time passes by and as they go bad or they degrade, we'll just buy cameras on an as-needed basis. That way we can save some money over the years.
And this is for all the buildings?
Yep, we'll be adding some to this building,
Mm-hmm.
shooting out here and out here.
So we'll catch the situation that happened last week.
Yeah.
And we're going to catch the situation that happened at the pool 4 or 5 months ago.
Yes, I think we're adding 6 cameras to this location.
I just want it covered. I don't know.
Yeah,
how many
yep.
it's-
And we'll be shooting out here, shooting out at the pavilion and at the current basketball location. Speaking with one of the contractors, once the new playground's put in, they can put in a new pole and shoot it out at the new playground.
That would be good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and that's all I have.
On the ARPA money, whatever you call those things, that's $260,000 or $240,000, those units you were talking about. What about the rest of the ARPA money that we were given? Are we going to take advantage of that?
Yes.
Or is it not necessarily something we're going to do?
Yes, we are. So like I was saying last time, there was one or two line items. They they don't feel that we need, that they're going to move into another category. One is, I'm going to mess up the name, I believe it's called an oxidation. It's for the water treatment plant. And, but like I said, that was discussed last time. So it's just moving money around. Money doesn't change.
But the county has to agree to do it.
The county has to agree. So we're going to do a one shot. We're going to update that sheet with these new portable Thompson pumps and get all the pricing in line and then send it over to them for approval. So we're not sending them
Are we still
multiple.
going to be able to get everything done by the date that they gave us?
I believe so, yeah. I was hoping to send out, per our last meeting, I was hoping to send out all the numbers either to you guys or directly to them at the county last week, but we're waiting on a few more quotes. So I should have that this week and we'll be able to send it out. If anything changes, I can let you guys know, but I don't foresee anything changing at this point.
Is Scott in the loop on this? Scott Kerouac?
No.
Would you please make sure that he is?
You can do that.
I think you're dealing directly with Liz Barber, right?
Yeah, Liz is
She's the grants coordinator for the county.
over at the county.
But
I can include Scott.
you should at least give him a heads up that this is what we're doing.
Okay.
So that he doesn't get surprised.
Yep, can do.
Anything else, Dane?
That's all I got, sir.
Okay, General Manager Dan?
I just noticed we left Cindy on.
Oh, yeah, she did.
Anything you want to go?
I didn't have anything for you at the time the packets went out. This past Thursday, Sunday and I appeared at the county RPAC committee meeting, and they approved us for $108,500 towards the playground project.
Very good.
Oh,
Thank you.
very nice.
Very good.
Yay.
That's all I have.
We should include her more often, right?
You can talk more often.
I do have can I ask a question for you? At the last meeting, we talked about the dog park rules and regulations. Are you working on something in writing that we could approve? Or would you please?
Yes.
Put something in writing that we can approve?
Yep.
Thank you. You know what I'm looking for? If we go into this new system and they come to register, what are the qualifications to actually be approved? Whether it be health papers or whatever.
Vet papers and resident papers.
So if you would work on that, that would be great. And then one other question, if I may. Are we interested in doing a newsletter? We dropped it last year for various reasons. Is it something that we want to revisit? Because I believe it would be under you.
Yeah, I have been looking into that. I got the template that Get Fish Lapped came up with for it. So I am starting to look at getting one out, hopefully in April. Is
that a conversation the board? Do we have to revisit this or? If there's any?
I think it's part of their.
Going through minutes from last year, it looks like the last it was talked about, we were going to a quarterly newsletter.
Correct.
And it would not go out with the utility bills.
Right.
We would have a smaller number printed that are available at the district buildings.
What we're looking for, since you're relatively new, is the best way to communicate to the people who live in the district, not just the golfers, but total district. I would appreciate you telling us the best way you think we should do it, as opposed to us telling you what we think.
Yeah, and I have been thinking through that. We have been putting a lot more information out on the Facebook page, like on a daily basis, about everything going on in the community. I'm looking at what, if anything, we want to maybe go out on a weekly email blast, like on Fridays. And we have heard from some residents that don't have email and internet that they still want to know what's going on with things. So that's where the newsletter.
I personally would leave it up to you to direct us.
Okay. Yep. Well, I am looking through everything.
Thank you.
Dan?
Ready for me. I left you a copy of the KDL hydrant report. It's everything you never wanted to know about hydrants. Basically, we have 416 hydrants in the district. Of them, 384 were considered to be in good condition, 26 being in fair condition. Fair condition means that you probably should address them, either replacing or reworking them with additional stuff. There were 6 that were considered poor and should be replaced. 5 of them have been replaced. 1 is being replaced today as we sit here. So we will be through with that part of it. The issue really is more, we have to ongoing inspect them annually and put money in the budget to address these that are in fair condition. Of the valves, you basically have a hydrant and a valve to turn it off or on. There are 62 valves that are in fair condition and 32 that are in poor condition. Poor condition means that it's leaking into the hydrant. As long as the hydrant is turned off, it's not a big deal. But 32 is a lot. Ultimately, that's probably where we need to start and start replacing those. The challenge there is that when you start replacing a valve, you give everybody a boil water notice on that street, not the whole district, just that street. You can try to replace it as we did on Palazzo a couple of months ago, and it valve blew out. That means you got a boil water notice for the world. We really don't want to do that. We are also, there were 254 of these valves that did not have concrete pads around them. Our roads and drainage guys are pouring concrete pads around them so that they won't be damaged by mowers or whatever. But bottom line is, we've got the worst done. Kind of interesting, there were only 2 in Tanglewood that were a problem, but they're newer than most of the ones around here. We had 2 that had been damaged either by somebody shooting them or hitting with a hammer or something. And we had to replace those hydrants. We did meet with Travis Crossan, and we are meeting with Waterworks, Sustainability Partners. I gave you that kind of cliff notes, as Dane said. We have a meeting set up with all of those people, and we're going to try to go through and make sure we completely understand this, but it looks like we will be able to, assuming that everything is as it looks like it's supposed to be able to replace all of our meters without out-of-pocket expense. That we will be able to go with a long-term lease that allows us to buy it out at our option at any time at our option, which is kind of the best of all worlds. I would say to you, though, that you have to understand that those people are in business to make money. So while it's a great thing for us in terms of cash flow, it also ultimately winds up costing more. But at this point in time, I think that's our best option. The Department of Environmental Protection has audited our Unit 23 wastewater plant. They had some minor things which we knew they would. So far, we haven't seen anything of any real significance. And hopefully, we're still waiting on the written report. You always sit on kind of pins and needles until you get it, but I don't anticipate anything really bad. We know that we have to drain the sediment ponds, and we have to scrape and till those. Over time, when you use those things, they get compacted and they don't, the water doesn't absorb into the water anymore, and the only thing, or into the ground anymore. The only thing that we wind up with now is evaporation. And we really need to get those things tilled and scraped so that then you get both evaporation and infiltration into the ground. Can't do that until it dries up. Not dry enough yet. We're working on it. I have ordered a survey on the Matanzas cleanout valve that was damaged prior to last fall's series of storms to determine whether or not it's on our property or it's on the resident's property. That is of significance only because if it's on their property, it's their problem. If it's on our property, it's our problem. We've already fixed it, but we just need to know that for sure. We ordered a mower attachment for the Ventrec tractor, the articulating eight-wheel tractor that we use to mow around the lake. It'll be here, they say, in May. We can really use that thing to clean up the ditches in the district as well, because it'll operate on a 30-degree slope. We're demoing next week the sidearm mower for it, basically 14 feet, so you can sit up on the side of the ditch, mow the bottom of it, and that's what we're trying to get done. It's a sickle mower. We'll see if that one works as well as the little front end one. That one's significantly more expensive. The front end mower was about $5,500. This one's almost $18,000.
But we're talking about ditches throughout the property.
Correct.
That's a lot of ditches.
Not only our stuff, but I think the golf course can use it as well.
Yeah.
Instead of having the weed whack banks, they can just run along coat. We are on track to have all the ditches east of Cortez cleaned this month. Then we got to figure out what we're going to do going west of Cortez. I don't know how much our people can do and how much we'll have to have a contractor do, but it's still pretty wet, so we're doing our best to get it done. But as it dries up, we should be able to get a lot more done. And you can figure on about $18 to $20 a foot if you have a contractor come out and clean those ditches, dig them deeper, basically going all the way out to Balboa. So it just depends on how many feet you can afford to do. I should have a lot better handle on that by the March meeting. Max Environmental is scheduled to do the repairs to our Unit 4 wastewater plant. It's basically a crack in one of the walls. While they're here, I've asked them to do an inspection of every manhole remaining in Sun and Lake. Prior to, we gave them a charge to go do 20 or 23 manholes, whatever it was, and seal them if they need sealing. It's miraculous that all of them needed sealing. I asked them this time, I want to look at the free inspection before I decide how many of them you're going to seal, and I want a condition report. So hopefully we'll be able to then address the worst ones first, which is what we ought to be doing. The issue is infiltration, groundwater infiltration into our storm system or our wastewater system. In addition, we're looking at a contractor to come in and clean the bottom of the Unit 23 tank. Hasn't been done in 12, 15 years. Over 12 or 15 years, you got sand, you got all sorts of stuff down in there. It's basically like a big vacuum. So we're working on trying to get a price on that. I'm not sure we'll be able to get that done this year, but I'm going to try if we can get it done. That would be our intention, to do that after the snowbirds leave and before the rainy season starts, if we can. I don't know how much that'll cost, but it needs to be done. Should have already been done. We're in the process of updating our strategic plan for 2023. We'll present that to the board at the next meeting. But what I would like to do is management do it, present it to you for comments, and then bring it back to you at the next board meeting for approval, because you guys should have input into it as well. We are having reports of feral hogs again. They're haven't done any damage to the golf course or any of our property yet, but we're seeing them on the sides of the street. So we got the hog trapper in. He basically doesn't charge us anything. He takes the hog, and I don't know what he does with it, Mike. Do you know what he does with those hogs? I don't really care.
He donates them, well, I know he donates some to a preserve for like veterans that go, but I mean, he doesn't kill them on site or anything. I mean, that I know, because we always stress that, we don't want that to happen.
Right. The more of them we can get out of here, the better.
Right.
As Dane said, as David said, we met with Raymond Hornick. Unit 12 he's moving along with rezoning those properties. I think I showed each one of you his plan. For the audience, the really good thing is that we have asked him to make sure that he provides a barrier between the existing homes on Granada and the new homes that'll be going in behind them. And part of that's 50 feet. The minimum is 20. So, and that's back line to back line. So we're not going to be jamming anybody in behind somebody's house. As it was originally drawn, it would have been Tanglewood too. So the density, and he doesn't anticipate any problem with getting his rezoning because you're going from that density to single family homes. So it should be good.
The tortoise, the problem, is that, are we providing him land or is he taking it to Ocala?
He is, we agreed in the original agreement to provide 25 acres out
Okay.
of at our expense.
Right.
If he needs any more and he's not sure how much he's going to need, then he buys it just like he buys
Okay.
the rest. The issue, the impact on us is that we will not get assessments on the tortoise ranch any more than you get it on retention ponds or, streets or that sort of thing. So his initial pass is a 215 lots, something like that, David, in the first piece that he bought. So the good thing for us is we've gotten our money back out of it that it cost us to foreclose on the whole deal. So we're even now. And secondly, you're going to have 200 lots that are paying you $7, whatever the number is, annually. So it's good for us. It does give us additional wastewater issues, and although you get additional revenues. So it's a good thing, but it's also a challenge that we're growing as fast as we are. Most of the growth is going into the Unit 4 plant, wastewater plant, which we have plenty of capacity there. The issue is Unit 23. Human Resources is reviewing our employee policy, making additions to it that need to be updated, basically, given where our country is going. And then secondly, taking some things out that probably shouldn't have ever been in there. So we're trying to eliminate any problems before they occur to the extent that we can. We will do it basically in pieces, and we're going to send each one of you each piece so that you can review it. Instead of having to look at 200 pages, you can look at 25 or 30 at a time. And if you have any input, we would like for you to do that, because ultimately it's going to come back to this board for approval. I think that's all I have, unless you have questions.
Anybody have any questions? No. Follow-up items?
None that I know of.
Business?
None.
Dr. McKinney had sent up a card. She'd like to speak to the board. She missed her public comments.
Good morning, Javita McKinney, resident, supervisors, distinguished officials, and stakeholders. Good to see everyone. I wanted to ask to just table that announcement. I have a seminar I'll be attending. It was regarding a K through 12 charter school and a space for it, possibly in Sun and Lake. So once I get more information, I'd like to ask to be on the agenda maybe and present the project. How about that? I do that with Carol. Coral, I apologize, Coral.
Okay.
All right, thank you. And I apologize for my tardiness.
A charter school? Charter school.
Any discussion to and from the board?
I got something that I forgot to ask Mike. Can I bring that up?
Yes.
now? Michael. Just a question, just two questions that I forgot. I didn't see this piece of paper. Are there plans to change the menu or plans to change the specials before the season ends?
Going through season, basically our plan with the menu was to evaluate what was selling good and what wasn't, and move new items in there. Weekly specials, we did March 1, we did change up the Saturday special will be different. So that's coming out. soon. The other specials throughout the week, I think, are still moving pretty strong, so I don't think those are going to change as of right now. Does that answer your question? The Saturday one, we are going to change.
You know, I got hearing problems. So your answer is no, we're not changing the menu.
Not a complete overhaul like we did, but there will be items going off and items coming on, but not.
So your plans at this point is to change it once a year, every October.
Well,
I'm just asking.
and not necessarily that. I mean, it needs to change. If you have items that are just not moving, then it needs to change. So it just changes rapidly. It's not every quarter necessarily. It's when we feel something needs to move off the menu to try something new, we're going to do that. What you're going to see.
Have we changed the menu at all?
Yeah, we've moved some items on and off, and then the Saturday special is going to change.
The other question I had for you, I'm not sure I got the right answer, but I've noticed that Wednesdays seem to be slowing down. Your hamburger night, have you noticed that? Or is that just?
Yeah, I mean, compared to year over year, it is.
Well, compared to your weekly specials too.
Correct. So it has definitely moved down a little bit. Tuesdays have gone way up, which is, so I just assume more people are eating on Tuesdays and Wednesdays now. But yes, I have noticed that.
I mean, I would challenge you to look at Wednesday. Maybe it's the price of the hamburger or the fact that people are just tired of it.
I mean, it's still a pretty decent number. But yeah, I mean, we evaluate it all the time and we could definitely take a look at
This
it.
one that you sent out, it was 85. The next one was 147. That was Monday. So, I mean, it was substantially.
As far as
lower.
the cover report, is that what you're talking for?
This is your report.
Yeah, the covers.
Oh, for this last Wednesday?
Yeah, that was my
Whenever you sent
my Monday report.
That's because they had the
Yeah.
ladies member guest and we couldn't get in to get,
Correct.
to get hamburgers.
I'm
That's
just
real simple.
throwing it out to you. It looks like that may be becoming an issue and you want to maybe change it. The other thing was, I think we talked, or I mentioned last time at the meeting, that would be good for you to take your specials and advertise it to the district as opposed to advertising it just to the club.
Mm-hmm.
Has that been done?
Yeah, she's been doing a lot of stuff. Yeah. A lot of Facebook, all of our Facebook posts she's reposting.
Oh, on Facebook?
Yeah, she's doing a lot of Facebook reposting, and then obviously when they get some emails going, we'll be doing that as well.
That's all I had. Thank you, Michael.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
That's the reason it was down. That's the reason it was down.
Got a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Seconded? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We have to maintain that, and that, what I'm working on is a